We are here back again for a Friday podcast. Welcome. Welcome to the Colonel and the Kid podcast. I am your host, Greg Heitman. And this is the Colonel and the Kid podcast. Today is April 17th, 2026. I hope you got your taxes in. I did mine a couple weeks ago, so I actually got my federal refund in the bank already, so that was real good. Wasn't much. Had it really balanced out this year. Less than $200 I got back, so had that calculated down to 3 digits there as far as that goes, and paying my fair share of taxes, so pretty good. Anyway, here we are at the podcast. It's another Friday podcast. Seems to be happening more frequently that we have Friday podcasts. That's okay. It's a good day. It's a good day to podcast. Get yourself into the weekend and take it easy. So anyway, about the podcast. Yeah, this is the Colonel and the Kid podcast, and it's based on the memoir of my grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. And he was the colonel. I was the kid. I still am the kid, I guess. And Grandpa, that's what I knew him as. A lot of people called him the colonel. A lot of his friends and acquaintances and people in town, people that knew him. I never called him the colonel. I don't think so. Just called him Grandpa. So anyway, this is the podcast is built on the memoir that I've written about Grandpa and try to put together the life lessons that he imparted to me, share them with people, and also record his history and have a written record, a video record, and an audio record of Grandpa's history. As far as I knew it, I mean, as seen through my eyes, it's kind of interesting. I don't know what the rest of the family might think about that as far as what I've written and how it might compare to their own memories. But in contrast to that, what I've kind of done, I guess, or what my attempt is to maybe inspire other people to do the same thing. Record their family's history and their own history and have it there for future generations to look back upon and enjoy and see how see how their own life might kind of mirror their relatives' lives generation or two beforehand. I don't know, it's just kind of a curiosity for me to reflect on that, on such things, I guess. But today's chapter, I guess I didn't even mention that. Today's chapter is 39, and this is the daughters part 2. And we'll be getting to that shortly. But I always like to say that this is sort of the memoir is the spine of the podcast, and I build out from there, and I have some other recurring segments here and there. I don't know if I really have anything today. Nothing really jumped out at me as far as some of the other segments. Of course, we have the sports update, and we'll get to that. There's a little bit of sports I want to talk about. I have a verbal abuse topic today, just a quick one, and the big news. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. In sports, it's baseball related stuff, and of course, I have a couple corrections that I want to address, so we'll have that coming up. But first, we'll have the memoir chapter itself. And before I get to that, I just wanted to say also that what I usually mention here is the idea that this is sort of the origination of this whole project that I've been working on as far as the memoir itself. In all my writing the origin was therapy, I guess, psychotherapy, if you want to call it that, just to be able to put down all my thoughts and ideas, feelings, I guess, even in on the screen, because I never did much for handwriting. I guess I would take notes here and there to try to remember what I wanted to write about. So there's not much handwritten stuff, but a lot of my writing is typing out the word onto a screen and being able to look at that. And I think for me, that is one of my more significant learning ways. Uh, I guess mental processes that I use is being able to type something out, look at it, and analyze it that way. Analyze it in the written word more than just hearing it or anything like that. But I think that's my best way of remembering things and reflecting on things is through the written word. And I'm able to capture it then and have it on the permanent record, as I like to say. But anyway, enough about that. Enough introduction. Let's go ahead, get to the chapter, and see where we are in the scheme of things here, and get it put into the record, as I like to say. And here we are. The Colonel and the Kid memoir, chapter 39, The Daughters, part 2. And of course, we start with a quote. Quote, "Even death is not to be feared by one who has lived wisely." End quote. And that is from Buddha. So it's kind of a little bit of ominous start to the chapter with that kind of quote, but have no fear. I think it's okay. It's a little more interesting chapter today, a little more not as fun, but we're going to jump right in. Life is going to test you. The whole world was tested by COVID-19 in 2020, and we are still battling, slowly emerging from the oppression put upon us by this disease, with the lockdowns and family separations we suffered. I don't know if anyone has suffered more from the ravages of COVID than my mom. As I write this, she has bounced back about as well as one could be expected to recover, given the circumstances. And I have a first photo here for the chapter Daughters, Part 2. And I'll read the caption and then describe a little bit. Caption reads, circa 1953, my mom, Carol Lee, and Aunt Kathy in front of their house in Siston. I like this photo of my mom with a basketball in her hands. And to describe the photo a little bit, and we just got the NCAA March Madness basketball wrapped up, and now we're kicking off the NBA playoffs. And I don't know if anybody watches NBA that much, but there's basketball in this picture, so very timely to have this chapter being put into the record. And so it's a picture of my mom and Kathy, very young, 1953. So my mom was probably like 10 or 11 years old. And Kathy was probably like 4 or 5 years old there in the picture. And Kathy's wearing like a dress, it looks like, with kind of a nice overcoat. And she's got some nicer shoes on, white socks, and she's got I think she's got just bare legs and with a dress on there. And my mom, it looks like she's got sort of like a sweatsuit. I don't know if it's a sweatsuit of the times, and I don't think she's got athletic shoes on. Look like just regular some sort of loafers or something. But she's got white socks on, and she's got an orangish red sweatpants and orangish red top. But it looks like she might have a shirt on, like a turtleneck or something underneath her top. And they're just standing in front of the yard, and looks like Kathy's got her hands in her pockets, and my mom's got her sleeves pushed up, and she's holding the basketball with both hands against her leg, like her right leg is kind of racing the basketball. And this is in front of the 505 Spruce Street house there in Siston, South Dakota. And it looks like it's maybe towards the end of the day. I think I'm pretty sure that's the sun in the west there, kind of coming in a little more of the golden hour photo there. But nice photo. I really like that. Both kids are smiling happily in front of the house. Anyway, back to the chapter. Grandpa's daughters, my mom, Carolee, and my aunt, Kathy, each of them weathered separate storms of COVID. My aunt Kathy was an early victim of COVID-19. It devastated her. She was hospitalized for months on a ventilator for more days than anyone in the state of South Dakota for a time. On Kathy's birthday, June 6, 2020, I got a call from my dad where he informed me the doctor reported Kathy was not going to make it through the day. The call lasted less than 15 seconds. My dad's voice was cracking, filled with emotion. But Kathy pulled through. She's still recovering from permanent damage from the disease that racked her body, slowly regaining her strength. And I add parenthetically that it's been a while since I wrote this, and Kathy's recovered almost fully. She's in really good shape. And it's a tough time, but she's recovered, I would say. And here we have a second photo for the chapter, and I'll read the caption and describe. Circa 1958. Nothing but smiles for my mom, Carolee, and Aunt Kathy as they celebrate Christmas. And this is the kids, young kids. Well, I don't know. My mom was probably about 15 or 16, and Kathy's probably like about 8 or 9 years old, I guess, in this photo. And it's Christmas, and it looks like they're opening some gifts. And then my mom I don't know what she's wearing there. I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know how to describe it. It looks like it's almost like a dress, but it looks kind of shiny and plasticky. And she's got her sleeves pushed up, and she's got some sort of weird, it looks like a really thin scarf hanging all the way down from her neck. And maybe I don't know, maybe it's like a nightgown or robe or something. And my mom is really laughing and pointing towards Kathy, and Kathy's smiling. Looks like she's got a blue shirt on, and maybe those are her pajamas too. Maybe this is early morning and they're just opening gifts on Christmas morning. I don't know. Kathy's holding a little doll, and Kathy's got like white pants. Maybe they're sweatpants or pajama bottoms, but I'm just not sure. Just not sure what exactly that style is of clothes. But behind my mom is a Christmas tree. It's like a real Christmas tree just saturated with decorations and lights. And in the foreground, it looks like maybe just on the left side of the photo, you can see the edge of a console TV, it looks like. And I'm not even sure what that is, if it's like a stool that's in front of my mom with an open box on there. Maybe it was the first gift that was opened. But anyway, it looks like they're enjoying Christmas. I don't recognize the house. Maybe it was someplace else, but it doesn't seem like anything I remember. As far as the living room in the 505 Spruce Street house would have been, it doesn't seem like that space was like that, as far as I ever remember. So I don't think it's at their house. I don't know. Anyway, it's a good photo, nice and crisp, clear, and very happy expressions on the kid's face. So, but back to the chapter. You might ask how I can say that my mom has suffered more than anyone compared to my Aunt Kathy, who actually fought off the disease and still continues to fight and recover. I will contend that being separated from your only sister, she battles illness, and only hearing the updates, unable to provide in-person support, is torture, the likes of which only the devil could devise. Add that to realizing that you are on your way to becoming the last member of your Original family unit. This forces the darkest of thoughts to swirl in your mind. This was the day of rock bottom, that day of June 6, 2020. But this family is now a part of a miracle. God decided it wasn't Kathy's time to join her parents, my grandma and grandpa. Kathy made it home. She spent 6 months in hospital care. Her strength is returning and has returned, and life has returned to normal. As normal as one could expect after such a health crisis. And here we have another photo, family photo from when my mom and Kathy were kids. And I'll read the caption, then describe a little bit. Caption reads, I really like this candid shot of the Black Hills family vacation circa 1952, left to right, Aunt Kathy, Grandma, and my mom, Carolee. So I think this is in Rapid City, likely Dinosaur Park, because they're up high. They're on a bench, and my grandma's sitting down, and Kathy's climbing on the railing. The railing handle, and my grandma's trying to help her make sure she doesn't fall off there. And my mom is standing to the left of my grandma, and nobody's looking at the camera. It looks like they're getting ready to stage a photo, and they're all dressed up. They all have dresses on. Kathy and my mom have pale green dresses, kind of with the frilly white top around their neck and shoulders. And my grandma's got like a bluish dress, blue gray with splotches of darker blue in it. Really nice dress. Looks like a nice lighter material. Must have been summertime. Try to keep cool with some lighter material. And behind them looks like some evergreen trees. And I think they're up pretty high. I think, like I said, I think it's Dinosaur Park in Rapid City. And the kids are my mom was probably 10 years old. So Kathy would have been about 7 during this time. So they're very young. And it's a nice candid shot. Just no one's ready for a photo. Looks like they're just getting ready to sit down and organize for the photo. But like that. Anyway, back to the chapter. And yet, I will continue my argument that my mom has suffered more than anyone in regards to COVID. My mom and dad both tested positive for COVID in November 2020. They both shook off symptoms relatively quickly, but my dad had a series of lingering issues. COVID was a contributing factor to my dad's cause of death. He passed away on January 1st, 2021. And here I have another photo. And I'll read the caption, then try to describe. Circa 1959. I'm guessing the last true family vacation before my mom was off to college. Aunt Kathy left, and my mom, Carolee, on the right, pose in front of the giraffes at the zoo on their Colorado vacation. So I think this was in Denver. And they're at the zoo, and it's got a kind of a weird coloring to the photo, at least closer up, because there's like a giraffe way in the back, and there's like heavy duty bars. It's almost like prison bars, prison gate there, and then closer to the bars is a baby giraffe, and then leaning up against the railing, but looking back towards the camera that I guess Grandpa took this photo. Kathy's on the left and my mom's on the right, and they're both smiling at the camera. But it's kind of some of the colors have turned like this bluish green, like an aqua color. And like the baby giraffe, the yellows, it's got like, the giraffe coloring it's got the darker brown spots, but there's yellow lines in between the dark brown spots. Instead of yellow, those are kind of look like bluish lines. And I don't know if it's the way that maybe there's just the way the light was hitting the bars of the zoo, and maybe they're painted a bluish color. Because like the coloring of Kathy's face and my mom's face looks normal, flesh tones, And I don't know. It's kind of it's a very strange photo, like I said, because like the foreground, perfect, way far background, perfect colors, but the middle ground is kind of everything's tinted kind of a weird bluish color. So very, very very unique photo. I'll say that. That's kind of maybe what caught my eye and why I put it in here in this chapter. And all the photos in this chapter kind of like progression of the daughters, the colonel's daughters, as they went through time and like I said, probably the last vacation, true family vacation, because my mom I think was about 17, and Kathy was probably 10, and my mom was probably heading off to college soon after. But back to the chapter. Timing is everything. My mom's sister Kathy is the type of take charge person my mom needed when my dad passed away. I did my best, but Kathy could have eased the pain and helped guide my mom in ways only a sibling and a sister can. Kathy was still recovering and unable to travel. The strong, independent Kathy was needed, but the timing and circumstance of COVID continued to reign over us. Again, this is why I believe no other person suffered more than my mom. I'm sure there might be others that suffered equally, but not more than my mom. I am lucky to have such a strong woman for a mother, tough enough to endure the circumstances life has dealt her in the last few years. And Kathy, same could be said for her. What else could we expect from the daughters of Colonel Hagen? And here we have another photo, and I'll read the caption and add some description. Caption reads, The Patriarch, circa 1979. Grandpa poses with the ladies in his life, left to right. My mom, Carolee, Grandpa, Aunt Kathy, and Grandma. It is strange for me to notice that Grandpa still had some color in his hair. In my mind, I always see him with silver hair. I know this is likely the first or second Christmas celebrated at the Siston country home. So this is a nice posed picture of Grandpa's family there, the nuclear family. And it's a Christmas photo because the Christmas tree is in the back right corner behind Grandma. In this case, she's on the far right of the photo. And my mom's on the far left, and there's a great big plant leaf, like a palm frond type, what are those kind of, can't remember what the name of those plants are. I have one here. I have two behind me. Those kind of weird leaves, big, huge leaves with kind of look like a palm frond. For those watching the video podcast on YouTube, you can see that a plant similar to the one that's in the picture. And of course, I should mention that I'll put all these pictures. I'll upload those into the video podcast. So if you want to check that out, you can see these photos. And like I said, 1979. So my mom was probably like 37. Kathy was like 30. And I'd mention in this case that I look at my mom with she has like almost black hair in this photo. I don't know. I don't know if she was dyeing her hair at that time or not, but it seems I don't remember her hair ever being that dark. It's kind of weird that I just noticed that. And she's got just like a boy's haircut. I don't know. It's kind of like maybe more like a Dorothy Hamill style haircut. It's different. It's a different hairstyle than I can ever remember my mom having. But I note that for the record. And she's wearing her glasses, but they're kind of almost tinted too. Like they're those auto darkening glasses, and she was inside, and they're still kind of a little shaded. My grandpa's partially smiling, it looks like, and my mom's smiling, Kathy's smiling nice and big, and grandma's kind of smiling there a little bit. And my mom's got kind of I don't know, it's kind of the normal styles for the late 1970s moving into the 80s, a little more normal than the mid 70s, early 70s with weird styles like that. And grandpa's got looks like a kind of a Western shirt. long sleeve shirt with the sleeves rolled up and collar. It's got a collar, and he's got, I don't know if he's got blue jeans or blue slacks on. And my mom is kneeling down on the left or on the right side on Grandpa's right hand, and Grandma's kneeling down on the left side of the chair and on Grandpa's left hand. And my mom's got her arms folded on the arm of the chair, and Grandma's got her arms folded on the chair. And then behind them is Kathy. So it's a nice picture. And the curtains are pulled in front of the big picture window in the living room, so they could look out over to the valley towards Siston there. So nice picture for the record of the family. 1979. Very, very interesting. So then we have another picture, and I'll read the caption and describe a little bit here. Caption reads, "The sisters reunite in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, March 2021, after not seeing each other for almost 2 years. My Aunt Kathy on the left, and my mom, Carolee, on the right." So they're both, this is in Kathy's house in Sioux Falls. We drove down for the day and then drove back in the evening, just a quick day trip down to Sioux Falls from Groton in 2021 there. And this was after my couple months after my dad had passed away, and Garrett had come home and was there for a week with me while I was staying with my mom, because we were still in COVID lockdown and working from home. So I drove home for my dad's funeral and stayed there for about 4 months with my mom, getting her settled back in and getting things straightened out and organized. So, but we were finally able to take a trip down there, just drive down and see Kathy. And it's in her house there, and in the dining room, looking towards her little sunroom and in her house. She's got a really nice house there in Sioux Falls. And it's kind of, I don't know if it's the sun is coming through. I don't know if it's a skylight that's right there behind them. It's kind of really highlighting their hair. They both have really white hair at this point, both of them. Nice. They have both have nice hair there. And it's nice and not gray. I'd say it's white hair. And they're kind of hugging each other. And my mom's got like a very blue green, more blue than green sweatshirt on, and Kathy's got a dark blue shirt on and kind of greenish gray pants. My mom's got darker charcoal type colored pants, and smiling and looking at the camera as they hug and see each other for the first time in 2 years. And I'm sure that was the longest time between seeing each other in their lives. So it was very, very happy reunion. But back to the chapter. I would be remiss if I didn't include Eloise Hanson Hortness, my mom's and Aunt Kathy's cousin, in this chapter. Practically a sister, as they grew up visiting Grandma Helen, my Grandma Betty Jean's mom, every weekend in Peaver, South Dakota. Eloise lives a half hour away from my mom now. She lives in Webster, just a 30-minute drive east of Groton. And I add parenthetically, my mom has moved to Aberdeen, so it's another 20 minutes, 20 miles for Eloise to drive to see my mom. But Eloise has been an integral part of the support system for my mom since my dad passed away. So I acknowledge and thank Eloise for all the help she has given to my mom. And here we have another photo, and I'll read the caption and describe. Caption reads, Eloise, Kathy, and Carolee share a laugh, March 2021 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, visiting Kathy at the post-COVID reunion. So I really like this photo, and everyone's smiling. We had just come into the door, got the phone out, take some pictures for the reunion, and Eloise is on the left, and Kathy's in the middle, and my mom's on the right, and they all got their arms around each other, smiling, looking at the camera. Well, I don't know. It's not. They're not looking at the camera very well. It looks like they're kind of maybe laughing and enjoying themselves a little. And it's kind of funny because you can see Kathy's got some socks that kind of match my mom's sweatshirt, and they all kind of have this bluish green fashion going on, kind of almost coordinating colors a little bit. And then there's a big cooler that kind of matches the coloring too, a bluish green cooler with a white top on the floor there next to them. So it's a very nice photo, and it's a nice moment for that reunion. And then we have another photo that turn back the clock here. I'll read the caption and then describe. Circa 1982, Carolee, Eloise, and Kathy, the three cousins, well, two sisters and a cousin, chat at a holiday gathering in Siston, South Dakota. You got to love the matching sweaters worn by the sisters. So Eloise is in between Kathy and my mom and Kathy are wearing matching sweaters. They have like white turtlenecks on and have sweaters over their turtlenecks. And they're bright red, and they have white hearts across the like the center of the chest, going around the shoulder and around the back, and really nice coordinated colors for the sisters to be wearing at the holiday gathering. And they're all looking at the camera, sitting. I think they're sitting at the like the formal dining room table, if you want to call that, in at Grandma and Grandpa Hagen's, just outside Siston there in the country house. And my mom's got her kind of her perm, her Reggie Jackson afro perm there, and she's got these great big glasses that from the style at that time. They're just giant. And Eloise has kind of got I don't know if it's like a perm too on her hair, and Kathy's got curled hair, permanent. It's not like the afro style. It's more shoulder length. And Eloise is kind of in her length of her hair, curly hair is sort of in between Kathy's shoulder length hair and my mom's, just like an afro type perm. So I just really liked and appreciated that photo. Glad someone got that with the cousins and the sisters and the cousin that spent so much time together growing up in Peaver and Siston area. And we have another photo. And I'll read the caption and then describe. The caption reads circa 1981, Grandma Helen and her grandchildren at a Christmas gathering in Siston. Seated on the couch, Dick Hansen, Grandma Helen, my great grandma, Eloise Hansen in front, Aunt Kathy, and my mom, Carolee. So this is at the country house outside Siston at my grandma and grandpa's. And I pegged this as 1981. Not exactly sure that's right, but it's kind of funny because um, that's that old. I think that's the old hide bed couch. I think I wrote about in one of the other chapters that they're sitting on. And well, my mom and Kathy are sitting on the floor in front of Dickie and Eloise with Grandma on the couch. But it's a good photo. And my mom's got similar hairstyle I talked about from the previous photo, but this must have been the year earlier because she has different glasses. She has a lot smaller wire rim glasses at that time. And Dick Hansen, Dickie, he's got dark frame glasses, probably similar to same, not as well. Grandma Helen's wearing glasses similar to what Dickie's wearing, but maybe not as heavy framed, that plastic frame. And they're just sitting there, the classic 1980s style clothes. Looks like it fits perfectly. Nothing out of the ordinary, just normal clothes. Thank goodness. I don't have to describe that too much. What a nice photo of Grandma Helen, my great grandma. And she was just known as Grandma Helen because that's how my mom referred to her all the time, because that was her grandma. And us grandchildren always called her Grandma Helen just because that's how everyone else referred to her, even though she was our great grandma. Then we go back further with another photo here. I'll read the caption and then try to describe. Turning back the clock, circa 1952, my mom's routine weekends were spent with grandparents, Grandpa Oscar and Grandma Helen, her maternal grandparents. In this stoic photo from left to right, on the couch, Grandpa Oscar, Kathy, Grandma Helen, Eloise Hanson, Carolee, my mom, and in front on the floor, Dickie Hanson. So this is I don't know if there's a time frame. Maybe it was Christmas. It's hard to tell for sure, but they're all dressed up. They're dressed up pretty formally for this photo. Grandma Helen's wearing a dress, got her legs crossed. She's like the center point. And so my mom is probably like 10 years old. Kathy about 7, and Kathy about 3, and Eloise probably about 5, I'd say. And I'm not sure. I think he was probably 8, 9 years old. I don't know. I'm not sure how old or what the age of relationship between Dickie and Eloise is. I should check that. I'll check with my mom, clarify that a little bit. And then Grandpa Oscar, I've never met him. He died young, fairly young, I guess. And then Grandma Helen remarried, and then I don't remember what her second husband's name was, but he had died too, died in an accident. But they're on the couch, and everyone's pretty serious. There's nobody smiling in this photo. It looks like they've been scolded. They're really, really, really unhappy. Let's just say that. And move on to a happier photo. And I'll read the caption, then talk about it. A little later and a little happier, circa 1955, we have the same crew as above. Photo at Grandma Helen's home in Beaver, South Dakota. Seated, Grandma Helen and Grandpa Oscar. Standing from left to right, Kathy, Eloise, Dickie, and Carolee. So this is a lot cheerier photo. Grandma Helen's almost smiling, and Grandpa Oscar not looking at the camera, looking off to his right, but almost getting ready to smile maybe. And Kathy and Eloise are really smiling quite a bit. Dickie maybe not smiling as much. She's looking proudly at the camera straight ahead. And my mom is not looking at the camera at all. She's looking over to the right. I mean, there must have been something over there that got Grandpa Oscar's attention and my mom. And they're kind of looking off to the side, but my mom's a little bit smiling. It's kind of funny. This is looks like in the doorway between the living room and the kitchen. Looks like the refrigerator's right behind Grandma Helen and Kathy on this photo. They got it staged up pretty nice, pretty good composition and pretty clear and good color. And it's nice. It's got actually very vibrant color, the blues, especially the blue from my mom's pants and even Grandpa Oscar's blue jeans look real bright. So again, we'll try to get those photos uploaded to the chapter and finish up the chapter. We got one final photo, and I'll read the caption here and then describe. Caption reads, "This is a good one of the young cousins posed looking at each other, probably a snapshot from the spring of 1958 at Grandma Helen's in Beaver. From left to right, Carolee, Eloise, Kathy, and Dickie." So this picture, there's like a rope swing, two ropes, and they're attached to a board. And Eloise and Kathy are standing on the swing looking at each other. Eloise on the left and Kathy on the right. And then the left side of the photo to Eloise's right hand is my mom. And on the left side of Kathy is Dickie. And my mom and Dickie are looking at each other. And I'm guessing it's probably, I want to say it's probably in the spring. And we'll cool out because my mom's got a jacket on and hand in her pocket of her jacket. And Dickie's got both hands in his pants pockets, doesn't have a jacket on. And Kathy's got a long sleeve shirt on, and Eloise's got a long sleeve shirt on. They're standing on the swing looking at each other. Shadows are kind of long, so it must have been later in the afternoon. And I think this is, like I said, in Peaver. It's a nice modern photo. I mean, the fashion, again, doesn't look like it's different from what might be today, but there's an old cart, like a farm wagon there, kind of in the background, giving that nice agricultural look to it. But it's a nice photo. It really caught my eye. I wanted to add it to this collection of the young sisters and their cousins that grew up together. That wraps up the chapter, and I'll close it with a quote here. Quote, "Perseverance is not a long race. It is many short races, one after the other," end quote. That's a quote from Walter Elliott. And again, I've done a bad job of noting what Walter Elliott is noted for. If he's indeed famous at all, maybe he was famous for this quote. Probably not. I don't know. Maybe that's a correction I could add for next podcast. But anyway, that sums up chapter 39 from The Colonel and the Kid memoir. And that was the Daughters Part 2. And also subtitled COVID. And I just, it's sort of I guess not a happy chapter for the most part, just talking about the ravages of COVID and what it did to the average American family, which I think I'm part of, and average American families that we saw happening. And I think I've already been on my soapbox and really have harsh criticism of the way that the United States government handled the situation, and would hope that if we ever have anything remotely close to this, we do a much better job as citizens and government both, because I don't think as citizens we did a very good job of standing up to the government. And of course, I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like this or experienced this. And we're an interconnected world now, so it was affecting the whole world and the world population and so on and so forth. But I guess I still have hard feelings about the whole situation. It really sent, I think, my life and most people's lives in a direction that veered off from the course that we were on, and not in a good way, I would say, for the most part. Don't know exactly how it might have been otherwise, but I'm not going to complain too much, I guess, either. That's life. Life goes on. So anyway, that's it. That's chapter 39. 39 is in the books. It's in the record. And I'm trying to think of what chapter 40 is for the future one. I think that's a little more upbeat. Not the Debbie Downer chapters that we've had a few lately, but that's the way life is, right? I mean, it's not all rainbows and sunshine all the time. We got to have some ups and downs, and they're recorded also. So glad we can have that put into the record today. So on to the rest of the chapter, or the rest of the podcast. The chapters in the record, so those people that just want to drop off after hearing the memoir chapter, there you go. You've been released back into the wild. Go ahead, and we'll move on to the peripheral part of the podcast. Some other strange things. I don't really have much today to talk about. Nothing was quote unquote tickling my fancy, so to speak. Nothing jumping out at me. So we'll have we do have a correction or addition. I guess maybe it's a correction because I think I just didn't have the data. And it was the how old Minnie and Ed Hagen Sr. were in the Christmas Times chapter 38. I think that was the last chapter. And there was a picture of Minnie and Ed Hagen Sr. in 1976, and I looked it up because I have a family tree that was put together for high school coursework, apparently, for me. I don't remember it, if that was, I think it might have been part of a requirement for a class, for English class, when we were reading Giants in the Earth. I can't remember if that was part of it, but I think so. And that was a book kind of written about South Dakota pioneers at the time. Interesting book. I should go back and reread that just to see what if I remember anything about that. I think it was by the author's last name was Rolvog, I think. Good Norwegian name or Swedish name. I think it's Norwegian, Rolvog. But interesting book about the heritage of the early immigrants into South Dakota, and I guess populating the land and claiming their homesteads, and just the early homesteaders in South Dakota. So, Giants in the Earth, I think that's the name of the book. Hopefully I got that correct. If you're interested in that, and I'll see if I can maybe I'll look on Amazon, get a copy of that just to check out. Have in my library. Eventually, I'm going to have an office / studio, and behind me I'll have all the books set up there. So I'll look like I'm really smart with all these books that I've read, even though I probably haven't read most of them. But I'll have a lot of books. That's the main point. It's the image that you want to present and the perception of the people that watch the video podcast, which is not very many, but yet who knows, maybe it'll explode at some point and people will be like, my goodness, that guy has a lot of books. He must be really smart. And they'll be like, yep, he is. Oh, sorry. Too much of a tangent there. Anyway, I really have got off the beaten path here, and I don't know what I was talking about and why I was talking about that in particular, because I think I was doing the corrections about Ed Hagen Sr. and Minnie Hagen, and I'm pausing now because I think Minnie, that's what I think was her nickname. Her real name was Paulmina Palm. That was her last name was Palm, and her first name was Paulmina, but she went by Minnie. That's just the M-I-N part. Minnie of her name. So very, very interesting naming. Naming convention, I guess, in that case. And I think I did mention this too before. Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr., as I refer to him, his middle name was Palm, and that was his mother's last name. So that was why he was given a middle name of Palm, which is a very unusual name at all. But I bring that into the record as part of the corrections and additions at this point. And I remember in college there was a girl, I don't remember her first name. I think she was from Wilmot or something. I think she was she might have been Miss South Dakota, and her last name was Palmquist. So Palmquist. And I think I lived in Matthews Hall at SDSU one year, and I think she was there too. Remember seeing her around. She was semi-famous because I think she had been Miss South Dakota or something like that. Anyway, she wasn't just internet famous. She was famous because there was no internet at the time. So anyway, one other um one other correction or addition that I wanted to put on this, and I have a note here in the itinerary slash agenda, whatever my notes, that I had talked about O'Farrell Hat Company, and I point that out because it's time to recognize O'Farrell hats because I am wearing it. For those watching the podcast on YouTube, obviously you can see that I'm wearing the hat, and there's the O'Farrell hat box there, the top of the hat box. And I had mentioned, I think way back when, that there was a photo of me when I was getting, this is like a custom built hat. So they measure your head with this contraption. And I remember the guy, you sit like in a barber chair. Let's just call it a chair, but it was almost like a barber chair that in the shop where they make the hats, and they put this thing on your head. And there's a photo of me with that contraption on my head, measuring and getting the weird shape of my head, whatever you want to call it, measures in multiple dimensions, I guess. And the guy that owned the shop, I think his name's Scott O'Farrell, I believe is his name. And I can correct that in the next corrections if that's wrong. But he said, yeah, a lot of times people take a picture while they have this contraption in your head. So Angela took a picture of me with that contraption on my head, measuring my head, and I'll put that into the podcast here as an addition slash correction that's been missing for a while, because I'm not sure when I got the hat and started using that in the podcast, but this is my podcasting hat. And I should mention too, for those not watching the video podcast, I'm wearing the retro camouflage from Orvis that I got it last year or the year before or something like that. It's a nice button-up collared shirt, and it's got the retro camouflage from like the 1970s, just the different colored blobs. It's like a tannish colored base shirt, but then it's got these different contoured um contour breaking up blobs of different colors, like a darker, almost black charcoal color, and then a lighter brown, or a darker brown than a darker tan than the shirt. So that's the camouflage I'm wearing today. I have a whole bunch of nice shirts I used to wear for work when we actually had to go to the office, and I bet I have 40 or 50, probably let's say 20 camouflage shirts that I would wear, and other just nice stylish shirts. I bet I easily have 50 shirts that are not formal, but semi-formal office shirts that you'd wear for getting dressed up to go to the office. I don't need them anymore. I don't go. I guess I do come to this office, if you want to call it that, for the podcast. That's the only reason I'm really saving them. I should probably just really thin out my wardrobe so I can have more closet space. But anyway, I'm not sure why I brought that up. I think I was going somewhere with this discussion about clothing and styles. Maybe it was for the style of camouflage today. That's like one of the biggest decisions I was making lately is, what shirt should I wear on the podcast today? So I'm just don't have my regular uniform. Usually I'm just wearing I usually wear like a black t-shirt like this, and then just a hooded sweatshirt, zip up sweatshirt. I have like 12 different colors, and I rotate them through during the winter and cooler spring and cooler fall time. But I do get dressed up for the podcast. It's like the professionalism that you need to make sure you're you know in the proper frame of mind, so that you know this is something special or different you're doing, and not just your everyday normal work clothes. These are a little more formalized work clothes to remind me that I am doing something. different. Oh, yes. Now I remember. I've stalled long enough to remember that what I was talking about, or what I was thinking about mentioning with my camouflage, is that I always look back and think back to a quote they talked about. You're dressed for the job you want. So I was started gathering camouflage shirts, like, button up shirts. They're with collared button up shirts like I'm wearing now, except they were camouflage prints. And I always thought, now I'm dressing for the job I want, which is like a professional hunter or guide or something like that. Like, could be out in the woods or in the duck blind or whatever. Who knows? Some sort of hunting, but you're dressed in camouflage. So that's dressing for the job that you want, not for the job you're in. So if you want to be I don't know, TV news anchor or lawyer or something like that, you'd be wearing a coat and tie all the time, saying, well, maybe I'm not a lawyer or news anchor now, but someday I'm going to dress up for the part that I'm going to play in the future. So for me, it was wearing camouflage clothing. And I remember when I was first bought some of these camouflage shirts. It was at the Sportsman's Warehouse in Albuquerque, and seeing them there for the first time, it's like, man, these are cool. This is what I like and what I imagine, you know, what I want. So I started buying some of them, and then I think Duck Dynasty came out, and they kind of stole my thunder, my idea of what I wanted in my life. Have a show. I mean, their whole contrived show. That's what it was. Just contrived setup that they put together for their duck call and outdoor business. But it was pretty awesome. I mean, they ended up hardly showing any hunting or anything like that. For a while, they would go out and into the duck blind and shoot some ducks and stuff. But anyway, that's a long roundabout way of saying dress for success and dress for the job you want, not the job you have. You should be dressing for the job you want. So, I mean, it doesn't come without some warnings. Don't dress up like a policeman if you're not a policeman, because that could be a violation of the law. Um, like if you're in the military and you're like a lieutenant, don't dress up with like stars, thinking you're a general because you want to be a general. That'd be a violation. You could get in big trouble for that. Probably get court-martialed, face the court-martial for that, or violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. I can't cite the number that would fall under, but it could be a problem. So there are some warnings about dressing for the job you want. So beware of that. Okay, on to the next topic. So that was correction. Oh yes, let's get the next part of it here, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is. We're looking at it. And I'll put that underneath and on top of the poster. Let's back off from the camera a little bit here. For those of you not watching the podcast on video and the YouTube, I'm holding up the book, Teener Baseball. This is the one we're advertising right now because it's baseball season. And this is a Teener Baseball book, and there's the poster behind it. So we're doubling up, and I can put it on the other side too. So I'm surrounded by baseball. And we will get the baseball update with the Minnesota Twins record. I did write it down. I was, on the ball, so to speak. Twins are 11-8 so far in the season, leading I think that's right, leading the American League Central at a 0.579 win rate, which is pretty good. I am very surprised. We'll see how long this can hold out, but I don't know. Got to take your wins while you can. Happy for them. It's happy to see some some sort of success. And I think I'm going to plan on having some more sports headline breakdown on that in the future. Specifically, I'd like to look at the payroll for the Twins and see how their money is wrapped up in their lineup. I think I would say probably the biggest chunk is wrapped up in Byron Buxton, their star player, quote unquote. And what's the other pitcher? Pablo Lopez, who hurt his elbow last year, never had surgery, and started this beginning of the season. And guess what? His elbow was still bad. Now he's had elbow surgery, Tommy John surgery, and he's lost another season. It's just a clown show with them, and I think he's wrapped up a bunch of their other salary, um, as far as their money invested in the players on the team. Other than that, though, I think they have a bargain basement um, lineup as far as salary goes, and they're doing pretty good with it. If they could get rid of the Byron Buxton contract, that would be pretty good because never been big fan of him as far as his just availability on the team. He's been injury ridden constantly throughout his career. I don't know. I look at other stars from other teams and the top, let's say like top 3 draft pick from that draft year when he was chosen. Other teams seem to make huge, pay huge dividends with those draft choices. Not the Twins. Twins are just been very, very less than mediocre. Let's just say that. Anyway, that's the baseball update. Try to keep doing that throughout the summer. Give you an idea of where we are. And it's again, I don't feel too bad about the Twins. And like I said, I paid for the extra innings streaming service, so I get to watch pretty much every game. It's really weird because I got a notice that there was a no hitter going on it was going into the 9th inning for Cleveland yesterday. So I'm gonna check it out and see if I can watch the end of that. And the guy Cleveland was batting when I turned it on, and it was a long inning, and it took like probably 15 minutes before the pitcher came out to start the 9th inning. And I don't know if it was like first or second pitch. The guy, left-handed pitcher, Messick, I think was his last name, gave up a hit, so the no hitter was over in the bottom of the 9th, I guess it was the top of the 9th because they were playing at home. And so that was a bummer that the guy didn't get a no hitter. They haven't had one. I think their last no hitter was like 39 years ago or something like that. And they said it was Len Barker, and I remember that because there was no hitters were so rare, and I remember getting Len Barker baseball cards. I think he ended up being traded to the Braves. And he was he had like a crazy high leg kick as a pitcher, if I remember right. You should check that out and see if I'm correct on that. If you want to do some homework, then get back to me. Let me know. The Len Barker high leg kick, and he got a no hitter. That was the last no hitter. I think it was 39 years ago. That's a long time for between no hitters. They still don't have one, obviously, because the guy failed last night. Len Barker. That's a name, a blast from the past. So, moving on. That's enough sports. Well, let me mention that next week. I think it's next week is the NFL draft. I believe that's right. So that's always exciting. That's just time marches on. I mean, so that's like let's say we'll call April in the books. So May, June, July. July they'll go NFL players will report to camp. So we're 3 months away from reporting to camp. So they'll get ready, and then in August they'll start playing a couple preseason games, whatever they're doing now with that schedule. And September. So May, June, July, August, September. 5 months. Oof, time goes by so quickly. But that's it. I'll get off the sports segment, and we're gonna move on to big news. I don't really have a lot of big news. I just wanted to mention that for some reason, the way I have it in my notes, I have it all caps. Big news, exclamation point. That's all capital letters. And for some reason, this this thought came into my mind when I was a kid. The Keloland News was KELO, Keloland. They were the CBS News out of Sioux Falls. They called their broadcast, it was the big news at 10. I thought, is that right? Am I remembering that correctly? As I was Googling that before I started the podcast, and it's like, yeah, that was right. I don't know how that was triggered. I guess just by the big news I have written there in this portion of the segment. I don't have any big news to share, but last week I think I shared the big news about the hummingbirds coming back. And I have seen the hummingbird multiple times. That I have a feeder in the front and a feeder in the back of my house now, and I've seen them at both feeders. And it's a male black-chinned hummingbird, and that's typical. Usually the black-chinned hummingbirds, the males will come back and they'll scout out a nesting area and have it kind of. I don't know if they start building the nest. I'm not sure how that works out, but they stake out their territory. And I wish it would be cool. It's, I know they do band hummingbirds. I've seen a little video about that, little documentary, I think. They catch them in the net, these long, kind of very soft nets, and they put a band on their legs to try to keep track of them. And I would be very curious to see if it's the same bird that comes back every year, the same male black-chinned, because that's every year. That's the first one. And I remember a couple years ago, multiple years ago now, maybe 5 years, 10 years ago, I didn't have feeders out. And I remember I was just happened to look out my back patio door, and I see this hummingbird like looking in. It was like just floating across the back patio, looking into the house, like it was trying to give me a message. Hey, I'm here. Why don't you put some food out for me? And it was just so weird to think about that if that bird was actually trying to communicate to me that it wanted a hummingbird feeder out with nectar in it because, he'd come back. And I think they remember. I'm pretty sure it's the same bird or same family, or they have their territory staked out. I've never actually seen a hummingbird nest in real life. I don't know. I guess maybe I just don't pay that much attention. Maybe I need to go look in the trees a little closer. I don't have any good nesting trees in my yard. I think maybe in the arroyo behind my house. There's some more. There's like these Chinese elm trees that get more of a thicker canopy that would be more conducive to nesting and nesting birds. So I suppose I could walk back there and see if I could check out and see if I could find any nests, but I don't know. I got plenty of other stuff to do. I just enjoy the hummingbirds, and they come to me. They come to my feeders. I don't have to go look for them. So anyway, that's the big news I got. That's the big news segment of the podcast. Keloland News, big news at 10. This is the good old days. I remember they had one. Was it Steve Hemmingson? I think was the anchor. Dave Dedrick, also known as Captain 11. Dave Dedrick did the weather, and I don't remember who did the sports way back when. And then for a long time, Don Jorgensen and Angela Kennecke. Now I have no idea who does the news over there. I don't even know who does the news here in Albuquerque. No one. I don't watch the news anymore. It's always negative. But anyway, actually, the big news I wanted to present is that I'm working on chapter 10 of Lake Traverse. That's the next Charlie LeBeau mystery book. I did call that up, and I'll have as soon as I'm done with this today, I'll probably finish reading that and editing that chapter. And then I will send it along to Gwyneth for her review. And there are 40 chapters in the next book. And this will be chapter 10, so we'll be 25% through. Quarter of the way through for the next book, which is pretty good. I'm happy with that, happy with the progress. So that is the big news on that book front. Glad to be making progress. So this was, I think I did talk about this, and I'll mention it again, that this was chapter 39 today. The next podcast will be chapter 40. And that'll be the conclusion of volume 2, season 2 of the podcast, but volume 2 of the memoir. And I will compile those chapters and get that put into Kindle as volume 2 under the Colonel and the Kid memoir. And we'll have 40 chapters online, and you can go buy that on Amazon Kindle and see the pictures all in one place yourself if you like. And that'll be another milestone completed, another step in the right direction, and trying to get that finished up and get this dedicated memoir to my grandfather one step closer to completion. So it's been a long, ongoing, arduous journey. And this chapter today was talking about COVID, and I guess I can, if I'm going to use an excuse for what derailed my writing was COVID, and just that, because I had this chapter, this Lake Traverse book that I'm working on. I mentioned chapter 10 today. I wrote that book, the manuscript, in 2019, and I was going to get moving on that and, get it published. But then COVID hit and just kind of threw everything up in the air. And that's when I started working on the memoir. And I thought, well, I'll get that done pretty quick. And then COVID hit and had to do a lot of different things associated with that otherwise. And just mentally, the stress of that. Then my dad passed away. And those are my excuses, I guess, for not getting stuff done and being more dedicated. But I'm back working on things, and hopefully get the ship righted. And I did, like I said, did get the first volume of the Colonel and the Kid memoir done I think it was last summer. So things have moved along. They're continuing to move along. I am checking some boxes and milestones as far as that goes. So I shouldn't be too hard on myself, and I shouldn't be making excuses and pointing fingers. If I'm going to point fingers, I'm going to point at me. I'm going to point at myself, I guess, on this podcast. If you're watching it, you can see that I'm pointing back at myself, because that's the only person I can blame for not getting stuff done, just dedicating the time, sitting down in this seat to do it. And I think I've mentioned that before. I think that's been one of my biggest problems, is just the lack of discipline just to sit and write. I used to be, and I think some of it's physical. I just cannot do it. My body just does not want to sit here, get too stiff, and my back starts hurting. I think I could do that when I was younger. I could have just sit here and discipline, get into the flow. And a lot of it, when you get into the flow of stuff, time just goes by and you don't even realize, how long you've been sitting here doing anything. And I guess maybe another thing I could point to is it's these watches that tell you've been sitting too long. You sit for an hour, or they want you to stand up. And so it gives you a buzz on your wrist, and it's like, oh yeah, you need to, and you look at the message and it's like, stand up. So then if you do stand up, then you break that rhythm and flow of the writing or whatever you're doing. And maybe it's better for your health and your back and and body wise, but I guess maybe just from the discipline standpoint, it hurts your continuity of thought and just that flow state that they talk about with your brain getting into just for me, the imaginary world that I'm writing about, if it is like the fiction, like the Charlie LeBeau mystery stuff, it interrupts that, and maybe you can't just get back into it as quickly as you'd like if you stand up for a minute and then sit back down. And you're just like, oh, where was I? Anyway, that's part of the psychology that I'm fascinated by, I guess, as far as how the brain works and how to get to a flow state. Are there shortcuts to do that? It'd be interesting to see. Maybe I could do some research on that and read up on how a person can more quickly get into that flow with your brain processes, anything like that. Because I know I'm not alone, but I think there's others. Most other writers, I think they look for anything, any distraction to not sit there and work. And I think that's what the internet has become a very negative thing. Because like you can say, oh yeah, I'm gonna look that up. You start writing something, it's like, oh, I want to learn more about that. So then maybe I can add that into my book, a little tangent there or something like. So you start getting distracted and Googling the internet for stuff for information and oh yeah, maybe I need to shut myself into a room that doesn't have internet. No distractions, no watches, no phones or anything like that. A lot of good ideas I'm having here. But anyway, that's the psychology that I think that um, you learn about, and then you know the weaknesses that you might have, and then you can come up with remedies to fight against those weaknesses or correct those weaknesses and build upon your strengths so that you can overcome distractions or whatever it is and be able to I guess get back to the more enjoyment of the creative side of stuff. I think that's part of it too for me, is that there's so much just technical tedious stuff that you got to do that eats into your time, that you can have like um a fresh mind and fresh attitude when you're still able, like first thing in the morning. I guess maybe that's what I should be dedicating, get up and start writing and have those, when you're fresh and you're not tired or not wearing down towards the end of the day or even the middle of the day as it is right now, that you can have your best ideas and best effort because you're still um you're not wearing down so far. And I guess that's all part of the idea of the psychology that goes behind anything that you're doing, or being able to focus on whatever you're doing. And for me, it's not work anymore. This is more of the passion project for me to get this stuff done and get it onto the record, just like this whole podcast. So anyway, I did have one thing that came up. I don't know where this came up. It's one more segment, and then we'll sign off for the day. But this is a topic I've had sort of in the background of my notes here, and I wanted to bring it up. Not sure what triggered this, but this is the verbal abuse or abusive language segment, and it was something being piping hot. Like if you have like pizza, you have a pizza and you get it and it's so hot that you take a bite of it and it's like burns your mouth. Oh, I don't know why in humans that we do that to ourselves. How do we like burn ourselves and take something so hot and stick it in your mouth? Like, oh my God, that just ruins the rest of your meal because your mouth is burned. Hurts, or it's deadened or whatever. But it was piping hot. You call something piping hot. Oh, that pizza. Careful, that pizza's piping hot. It's not a pipe. But I guess the derivation for piping hot was with tea, making tea. Then it comes out of the tea kettle, it whistles, so that it's piping, making a piping noise with that whistling. So that's how piping hot came about, and it just spilled over into anything that's hot. Ooh, be careful of the the pizza or macaroni and cheese. I'm thinking of stuff that's can be super hot like that. Anyway, be careful. Be careful of piping hot things. That's it. That's the verbal abuse segment, and I'm going to close it out. That's it for today. I do have some future stuff that I'm building up for other recurring segments, including License to Podcast, where we have certain license plates that personalized plates that I tried to get pictures of them and then talk about them and include the upload the little picture photo I've taken. And I did get one the other day. Well, I got two for sure recently, this last week, and then I missed one. I got the photo. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Chi Lu. It was like CHI space LU. I was trying to get that picture, and I was driving. You shouldn't do that. Don't do what I do. I was driving down the street. The vehicle passed me, and I saw a license plate, so I tried to get it with my phone, and it was blurry, so it was a waste of time and put myself in danger for nothing. Usually I'll just get them in the parking lot when I'm walking from the grocery store. I'll see a license plate, take a picture of it, and then we can talk about it on the podcast. That's the segment called License to Podcast. And you're asking, how did he come up with that, the title of that segment? Well, yeah, it's very difficult, but I did it. So look for that in the future. Stay tuned. If you get some good licenses out there that you want to send me, maybe we can include them. Maybe that'd be an audience participation segment. Then I could shout out whoever gives me the license plate and upload that picture of the license plate. So you got to get the picture. Try to get a good picture of it too. That'd be awesome. And I think maybe I'll try to commit to doing that next time. I'll try to get like 3 or 4 of the latest ones that I've gotten and try to get caught up on License to Podcast. Bring that back. Very strong segment there. So anyway, that's a wrap. That's a wrap today, folks. We'll sign off. It's been good. It's been a good way to wrap up the weekend. It's a Friday afternoon, so I'll get this recording polished up and hopefully published later today and get out there and enjoy it. So anyway, that's it. The weekend's coming up, so I say, the 3 B's: be assertive, be positive, be proactive. Take advantage of the time off this weekend. Get out there and enjoy the spring weather, garden ready, whatever it is that you like to do. Get out there, do something. That's my my order. I'm ordering you to do something. Be assertive, be positive, be proactive. You take action. That's the guiding principle. That's how I like to, I guess, maybe end I try to end that with a positive note here in the end of the podcast. And I think my grandpa would approve of that. Do something. Don't just stand there. So anyway, we don't say goodbye. We say see you later and knock, and the door will be open to you. Seek and you'll find. Ask and you shall be given. So that's it. Tip of the cap to you, the old Farrell Hat Company. Thanks you. I thank them for the nice hat they gave me. All right. Take care. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. That's it.